Hello, my name is Tony Gregory, and I am a retired professor from Purdue University Northwest. My title now is Professor Emeritus of Civil Engineering Technology. And when I was employed with Purdue Northwest, I served as a professor and department head in the Construction Science and Organizational Leadership Department, and the program that I was head of was Construction Engineering and Management Technology. And I am a licensed surveyor, land surveyor, and I taught primarily surveying courses in my time at the campus. And I've been asked to put a presentation together to talk about some opportunities in surveying that are out there and focus on the surveying courses that are offered at both Purdue Northwest campuses, Hammond and Westville. Let's start by talking about professional surveying and what a professional surveyor is. And you'll see on these first few slides I'm taking my information from a website called beasurveyor.com. And if you want to learn more about surveying and what it's all about and the opportunities in it and a lot about the educational requirements, I would suggest you spend some time on this webpage. They note here that surveying is among the world's oldest professions, and in that, surveying remains relevant throughout time. We have a lot of history. We go back to very early centuries of mankind with the measuring types that were done in places like Egypt and Rome and those ancient areas. There are a number of services that only a licensed professional surveyor today is allowed to provide, and these are specifically related to the location of property boundaries. But however, surveyors also provide a wide variety of land-related services, and these would include topography, spatial position, and land use planning. And basically anything related to land location and use will generally require the services of a professional surveyor. Anytime you see any highway construction going on out there, or you see buildings being built, we had the new building that went up at the Hammond campus of Purdue Northwest. Surveyors are involved. They're involved before the project begins because they have to collect the data that the engineers and architects need to work with. They are involved throughout the construction project because they're making marks for all of the different items that need to be built. And we usually are the last ones on the site too, because as-built surveys are often required for either financing purposes or for archive purposes. To work as a professional surveyor in any state, one must be licensed by the state's licensing board. A surveyor's license is very much on par with that of the professional engineer. Since the state laws regarding the practice of surveying can vary from state to state, each state has its specific requirements for licensure. And exams for licensure are administered through the National Council of Examiners for Engineering and Surveying, or NCEES. Most states also have exam portions that are administered directly by the state registration board. And sticking with the topic of licensing laws, requirements for licensure in Indiana include a minimum of an associate's degree, along with a minimum number of years of experience working under the direct supervision of a licensed professional surveyor. By comparison, licensure requirements in Illinois include a minimum of a bachelor's degree plus the minimum work experience. You're going to find that many states also require a certain number of credit hours or level of courses that need to be completed by the applicant. And Indiana is very strong in this. Even though they require only a 2-year degree, it comes pretty close to, in many cases, a bachelor's degree by the time you get all of the required surveying courses, math courses, and science courses if you have an associate's degree that's not really engineering or engineering technology related. And from a surveying standpoint, since we're going to be focusing on surveying courses here, the state of Indiana requires that the applicant has to have completed 27 credit hours, or 9 complete 3-hour courses, if you will, of land surveying based courses, and they're pretty specific as to what those courses are to include. And we'll talk more about that as we're describing the courses that we have here. I mentioned earlier that there's a strong need, significant need for surveyors in the United States. And to summarize that, it says here that the surveying profession is in serious need of licensed professional surveyors across the country. The average age of a professional surveyor in the United States has been reported to be at generally 60 years old. It's probably a couple years older than 60 now. And to compound this situation, and this should stand to reason with that high of an average age, the rate of retiring professional surveyors is generally greater than the rate of newly licensed professional surveyors. Sticking with this need, the National Society of Professional Surveyors, or NSPS, along with all of its state affiliate societies, have been working hard in increasing the knowledge of the significant employment opportunities in professional surveying at the local, at the state, and at the national level. And you're going to hear more about this as you, especially if you're graduating with a civil engineering or a civil engineering based engineering technology degree. When you get out there, you're going to see the opportunities for surveying very clearly when you get involved in projects. So with that as a rather long introduction, I want to talk to you about these surveying courses that are offered at Purdue Northwest. I've got a total here of 11 courses from either the CEMT program or from the CE program, and I've broke them down into courses that are required for a degree here and other courses that would be considered as elective courses. So let me start with the CEMT program and the required courses. We have 3 of them in the Bachelor of Science degree program. We have CEMT 112, which is the fundamentals of surveying. We've got CEMT 209, which is land surveying and subdivision, and we've got CEMT 30600, which is construction and route surveying. And on the CE side, you have one required course there, which is CE 201, which is surveying and GIS. On the elective side now, and I put the 6 CEMT courses on the elective side because they're not required, and there's really no room for them in the CEMT degree, but they're still out there, and I'll explain this as we get into starting to talk about those 6 courses. But these 6 courses do fit very well with the described courses that are required in Indiana, 6 of the 9 at least. We've got CET 210, which is surveying computations, CET 303, which is land survey systems, CET 304, which is legal descriptions, CET 322, which is astronomic and geodetic surveying, CET 402, which is surveying law, and CET 404, which is property surveying. And then there's one course that has been offered and hasn't been offered for a few years on the engineering side, the civil engineering side, that's out there, and that is CE 303, engineering surveying. So those are the courses that are surveying based that are offered at Purdue Northwest. So I'm going to go ahead and run through the courses now and give you some information about what each course is all about. And I'm not going to get in the detail of reading course descriptions all the way through and explaining what's in and out of the course there, but hopefully you'll get some handouts on that. But I want to give you an idea of what's available. And I'm starting with the distance learning courses. There's 6 of them. All of them are 3 credit hour courses, and they're all 3 lecture hours. There's no labs associated here. So we've got 2 courses here. First we got CET 210-00, surveying computations. The prerequisite for the course is the CEMT 112-00. Since this is a CET course, it's in the College of Technology. And I want to note here that where CEMT 112 is required as a prerequisite, the civil engineering equivalent of that would also work. And the course description is there, and just basically the course is about understanding what surveying measurement's about and how errors occur and how we have to account for them. And then we have 303, which is a survey systems course, and same prerequisite, CEMT 112. This is about anywhere in the world where you have boundaries and land ownership, you got to have a survey system so that the parcels can tie together and surveyors can show people where they own to. Next we have CET 30400 legal descriptions, and the prerequisite for that course is the 303 course that we just described. And this is a really important course. Surveyors need to be really experts at not just interpreting legal descriptions but writing them also. And this course goes very thoroughly through that process. And then we also have CET 32200, Astronomic and Geodetic Surveying. The prerequisite is the CET 210 course, the Surveying Measurements course. And astronomy and geodesy are two areas of science that the surveyors get involved with. We don't do much with astronomy anymore, but we work in geodesy very much, and it's still necessary for the surveyor to understand how astronomic boundaries were laid out in case they're retracing them. Then we have a very important course in surveying law, and understanding not only federal laws but state laws in which you're practicing are very important for a surveyor to be able to do his or her work legally and in an appropriate fashion. And this course covers laws and the relevant laws in areas of law that do pertain to surveying. And the prerequisite is the legal descriptions course. And then the property surveying course, CET 404, is what I consider to be a capstone. We have some projects we work on in there. We've got a case study that we work with, and it kind of ties everything together and focuses a lot on evidence of boundary lines. CEMT 11200 and CE 20100 are both basic surveying courses, elementary surveying courses, whatever you'd want to call them, in their respective programs. And I consider these courses to be quite equal with each other, even though the prerequisites are quite different. But it's surveying fundamentals, it's an introduction to surveying, it teaches us the very basics of what it takes to measure and survey, and gives us somewhat of an idea of what surveys are used for. And each of these courses, like I say, could be exchanged for each other from the standpoint of equivalent courses where necessary, whether it's for prerequisite or for state requirements. And then CEMT 30600, Construction and Route Surveying, and CE 30300, Engineering Surveying, are again, in my opinion, very close to each other in course content. Again, there's differences in prerequisites for these individual courses, but I think that on their own they could stand for the same purposes relative to prerequisites for other courses and for state requirements. And then the last course we'll cover here is CEMT 20900. This is Land Surveying and Subdivision. It's a 3-credit course with 2 hours of lecture and a 3-hour lab. It's got 3 prerequisites: the basic surveying course, a basic AutoCAD course, and the hydraulics and drainage course. And this is a lab-based course primarily, even though there's some lecture hours in there, but this course is very important not just for the surveyor but for the construction professional too, because we work on putting a project together, and the project here happens to be land-based, where surveying is important, and we work with subdivision work, which is very important to the surveyor. So this course fits well with the overall CEMT program, but it certainly fits well with what's needed for surveyors, particularly trying to get licensed in Indiana. The last slide that I want to present to you shows a proposed schedule for these distance surveying courses over the next 3 years. Hopefully we're going to be able to run these courses during this time, but the order that the courses are run fits well with the prerequisites. We offer 1 course per semester, and we do not offer any courses during the summer. And we'll have CET 21000 first in the spring of 2021, followed by CET 30300 in the fall of 21, then CET 32200 in the spring of 22, CET 30400 in the fall of 2022, CET 40200 in the spring of 23, and then capstoning it off with CET 404 in the fall of 23. So we'll finish up with that. I wanted to have a concluding slide here so that I can invite you to contact me with any questions you have. I have my email address there. I still have a PNW email address. I am not in the area. I don't live in Indiana anymore. I live in Central Ohio. But I am still teaching these courses, and I'm available for any questions that any of you may have. So send me an email, and I will certainly get back to you.